Hey, welcome everybody. It's Ted Padromo. It's Tuesdays with Ted. And today we have my friend Francis Waller, who about a year ago we met through a mutual friend. We were both kind of working on this
Yep.
project. We called it Operation Iceberg at the time, where we would do detailed, not customer analysis, more demographic information and really kind of customer avatar profiles. And we met you, and you take it to a whole new level. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Ted. It's great. When I first came across the whole uh, Ted Prodromo sphere, it was fascinating because I could see where my skills were working over here, and I saw that you were really on that side, and I could see how that synthesis really can add so much more value.
Yeah. And it's been
I'm more your offline guy, and you're much more the online. And it's all of us. We have to work within our full environment, both online and offline.
Yeah, because you can do a lot of research online and find some information and, kind of build these personas of people, what we think. But what you do, you actually talk to people, real people. And so you get much deeper information, better information.
What I did, and it's funny how it all came about because it was on accident. It was a happy accident 12 years ago when I interviewed the clients of a client, just looking for testimonials and stuff, good, valuable stuff to put onto her website. And I discovered that there was two different markets for her. There was the people that she really worked well with, and they enjoyed her. And then there was the others, and so we dug into that and we realized, okay, these are the people to stick with, and these are the people to refer on to other accountants.
Hmm.
And and giving her that full presence on the offline and the online really made so much more sense for her because she's a this is the woman is an amazing accountant, very deep expertise, and she needed to get that full spectrum of all the channels because we all work in online where we've got our websites and LinkedIn and emails and blogs and things like that, social media. But offline, we've also got conversations, presentations, proposals, the stories that we tell to people. And that's one of the things that I found through the surveys that I do is one of the things I like to say is I collect stories,
Hmm.
and they're valuable both online and offline.
Yeah, because we try to collect data online with surveys and things. But if somebody's going through and they're just, you give them four options, they're going to have to pick one of those. Or if you say other, they're going to maybe give you some extra information, but not like when you're asking them personally on a live call.
You know what? It's really interesting what happens because I've been involved in, I've done research in person. I've stopped people on the street, in restaurants, in special events, and asked them questions. And you get lots of feedback that way. But I've also sent out emails and letters and little forms back in the day. And now it's a web survey system. When you ask people questions, you're pretty much locked into two things. One is there is an amount of space that they see, and two, it takes them time. And that little bit of effort of taking time, imagine a bell curve of lots of participants to a survey, potential participants. Well, when you have to give them a little bit of work, you end up with the haters and the lovers, and you miss the bulk of those clients. And so by my system, I won't get into the details, but with my system, I end up talking to 80% of the potential interviewees. So I am getting the full scope of the lovers, the haters, but also the real bulk, just the average clients. What's their feedback? And when we can really milk that feedback in comfortable conversations, there's so much more value for the client because they get insight.
Yeah. That's like an Amazon review. You get the 5 stars or the 1 stars, but you don't get many people in the 2 to 4 range. They either love it or hate it.
Yeah. And you know what you also don't get in the Amazon reviews? Emotion. And when I listen to people, I hear them. I hear the lovers and the haters because they go there. Believe me.
And your interviews are very short. You just tell people what, 5 minutes? You're going to talk to them, and
What I do is I introduce it so that they know it's not a huge burden. I say these are going to be confidential 3 to 5 minute interviews, and they can be 3 to 5 minutes long. But sometimes when people are really excited about the person who's providing them with the expertise, that's who I tend to do it with, is people who provide expertise. I'm not doing it for commodity purchases. I'm doing it for high value, people who are selling this. So they tend to get longer, and they could be done in 3 to 5 minutes, but sometimes I'll get some of my clients I've had averaged 12 minutes per interview. That shows a lot. That one metric there shows real engagement.
so were those positive or negative conversations or longer ones? Is there a pattern to
They
that?
tend to be they can go both ways. I had one guy who spoke for 33 minutes complaining, but he was an outlier. He was one of those people on the edge. But they tend to be positive. Uh, Quite positive, and it's really nice. By the way, I see that I'm just going to reach over and close the blind a little here. There, that looks a bit better. So they tend to be, the more engaged they are, the more positive they are, and they do tend to talk longer.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to share your slide?
And sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through these slides pretty quickly. So on the first slide, by the way, speaking of feedback, this great line came from my business coach, Harvesting the Wisdom of Clients. I needed my own service. How do I describe myself? And it was through talking with people like my business coach that I came up with this line.
Mm-hmm.
So the okay, let me just go back here. Okay, and you can see the next slide now, Ted?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, so when this one idea that I got many years ago in writing advertising was, many senior executives have a false self-image. I would interview people in creating their marketing materials, their advertising, whether it's a brochure or B2B magazine ad or whatever. And I would interview them, and they would often have the wrong image. So I realized that asking them about themselves was often the wrong route. So they need a reflection, and hopefully my survey answers this for most of my clients. This again, this idea came up and from somebody else, and they said, "Oh, you find people's secret sauce," and it's very true. I do find people's secret sauce because we often don't know how to describe ourselves with our ideal audience, and it's our ideal audience we want to keep, and it's those outliers, the potential haters that we want to get rid of. They might bring us income, but they're not going to bring us a strong reputation. And we need to stay with those who are going to bring a strong reputation.
So, like, if I
Now,
asked my clients the same questions you'd ask here, they would respond differently if I'm asking about me as opposed to a third
they
party.
do. And it's no magic of mine. It's simply that when a third party, a neutral third party, asks subjectively, we tend to be more honest. We will tell the person in the next airline seat things we would not tell our best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a typical human thing because we don't want to hurt those relationships.
Right.
But when I come in as the objective third party, I'm able to hear those things. They tell me those things because I treat them, I'm listening carefully, and they know that.
Yeah.
Now, there's a number of different ways that these surveys can go. It started out, I mentioned 12 years ago, was a client satisfaction survey. But now you can see, oh, I missed one of those bullets, but on the right column, There's reputation management and issues management. I was talking with a PR person earlier today, and reputation management and issues management are high on his list. So there's a number of different ways that the survey can go, and that really depends on what we're going to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mentioned why I do an interview. It's because survey forms get low response, and I get 80% of potential respondents saying yes. So I end up with, doesn't look like that, but I do end up with pages and pages of transcripts, which I then need to go through. And this is the work. The real digging is where the gold comes out, because I'm literally going through maybe 10 or 20 hours of interviews. And out of that, I'm going to get a little bit of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, metrics. What are the metrics? I mentioned how much time there is. I mentioned how engaged they are. Loyalty and anger and joy and enthusiasm are now shown to be more accurate than stars. Another metric I found is that when people give suggestions, or they'll say, gee, I wish ABC provided blah, blah service, and they can get amazing ideas from that. Here's an idea I started a couple of years ago where I, instead of just my text, I do provide probably 20 to 30 pages of text analysis of the interviews. But I found that when I provide little pictures, it really brings home the message. You see on the bottom right there, it shows friendship. This was about a bookkeeping company, and friendship was one of the strong factors, which I found interesting.
Do you create word clouds for people?
I do. Sometimes the word clouds can be really, really insightful, and sometimes they don't show anything.
Yeah.
I have about 20 plus ways to do analysis, Ted, and I keep digging until I find real strong results. And if one person goes off on a tangent, that's just one person. But if 3 or more people are on the same theme, then we've got something to deal with. Now, this is the graphic that I know you really got excited about the first time you saw this, because you're dealing on that left column, I'm dealing on the middle column, and it's the combination where we can really help the client on the right side.
Yeah.
So, who is appropriate? High value, somebody who's important, and professional relationship and trust is needed. And we're not looking to please everybody, we're looking to please the right few. Because when you can please the right few, your reputation will grow. They will grow it. And like I mentioned, I do find hidden problems. Now, this is something called the customer journey. There's a variety of ways of illustrating this. I picked this simple graphic. We all start on the left side. We need something, and before we purchase, we start asking a lot of questions. We do formal research, we do informal research. Now, it shows here that we move immediately to purchase. However, when we're dealing with a high value service, there's expectations before there's a decision. So that is a big step here. And the expectations and the experience need to be equal. And if they're equal, then there's trust and growth of reputation. Now, this is a quick shot of a sample of one of my reports showing the table of contents, the full table on the left side. And on the right side, I've blown up the media communications part because I deal with marketing communications. Mm-hmm. What's the message? Who should be listening to the message? What's the network? How do you manage these contacts? Who to give referrals to? Speaking engagements, social media, websites, presentations, proposals. I went through all of that earlier. But what it's all about is we are trying to build up relationships with potential clients for a high value service provider. And over time, through a variety of communications, that relationship gets warmer and warmer. And finally, it becomes hot and we reach a breakthrough and they decide to use the professional or whatever the high value service provider is. So, my summary for the whole process is what in what direction should we emphasize? How do we turn the emphasis of the communications in order to target the right people? And what communication is going to trigger them to an action?
Mhm.
So that's it, Ted. You can close that off if you want.
So it's
But
important that
you,
I get from what you do is we're all pretty much commodities these days. If we're a coach or a consultant or fill in the blank, there's so many. And I guess it's because of social media and LinkedIn. It seems like there's like literally millions of competitors. So how do they pick which one? In the old days, it used to be the yellow pages who had the most A's in their business name. So they're the first ones in the yellow pages. But now it's about, they do a lot of research about us. And even if you research things a lot, you still see a lot of generic stuff on the internet about companies.
and you have to, we have to learn how to build over time those relationships
Yeah.
so that they grow. Because, you know, when somebody's looking, for example, to purchase your book, that's not a major decision. They can make that decision pretty quickly. Whether it's on Amazon or going into a bookstore, that can, you know, the decision can be made pretty quickly because they see the size of your book, they look at the competition, and the decision is fast. But when people are looking to engage you on something much more significant, they're going to shop around. They're
Mhm.
going to test you. And there's a variety of ways that they're going to learn so that they get that full 360 of, yes, this feels right to me.
Mhm.
So it's both the online and the offline that's got to come together.
Yeah. So if you're a bookkeeper and you're trying to differentiate yourself from other bookkeepers, you can help them. You can interview their clients, find out what they're happy about, what they could do better.
One bookkeeper that I did some work for, you asked about word cloud earlier. Did a word cloud on the bookkeeper, and the concept that, because people don't use or don't often use the same words,
Yeah.
but the concept of systems came through really strongly for the preferred clients. But the average clients, it was about local company and somebody I know. But for the preferred clients, it was the concept of systems. And so what we needed to do there was, okay, not only we're going to talk about systems and the use of systems on your website, but how do we craft little stories, anecdotes to tell to referral partners, to tell to clients, to show in a presentation that insinuates systems. And for a bookkeeper, it would be what you're onboarding and showing the systems even before they're in. How is there, for example, if they're doing monthly payroll or accounts payable, accounts receivable, how is that managed so that their clients get transparency and they see that there are systems, reliable systems in place? Because systems aren't the goal, reliability is the key benefit there. That's
Right.
the point of the system. And so that was what was learned for them. Other people, it's funny, you know, and this goes back to a theory I had many years ago. The person at the top, if in a smaller medium organization, the personality at the top becomes the personality of the company, that's the brand.
Yeah.
And if we can capture that, how they're perceived in the marketplace, then that can be communicated.
And then
And
you're
it
speaking the
works
language of
online
your,
and offline.
yeah. And you're speaking the language of the preferred clients, or the preferred clients are resonating with the message you're putting out, and that relationship builds. Then you get great long-term clients.
Yeah, and one thing that I've discovered about professionals is they feel obligated to serve all equally.
Mhm.
And that's a problem because some of those people, they're going to get great traction, and some of them, they're going to rub the wrong way. No fault of their own. It's just we can't adapt to everybody.
Yeah.
So once they start to understand the whole idea of target marketing, of going after the right few instead of trying to serve everybody, then they're going to get those people who are going to build that reputation out. Because the full reputation, average reputation, it's average.
It makes you like a commodity, like everybody else.
What's your fee? And that's the worst question in the world. What's your fee? What's the bottom line? No, 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 no. You want to get that personal connection. You got to sell this.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Oh, this has been great. So how do people get in touch with you? Here, I'll put your slide back up.
the last slide. Yes,
There we go.
I threw in a little piece at the bottom there. Gapmanagement.org is my website /free guide. And there's my phone number.
Yeah, I highly recommend connecting with Francis because it's really fascinating once you start getting deep into this, and it's a really great way to differentiate yourself from your competitors.
And it's so great to see when it works, when people they discover themselves
Yeah.
through the eyes of their clients. And
Mhm.
it's just such a rewarding experience to see that happen when I've seen people who have billion dollar clients become more confident.
Yeah.
And that really is good.
Great. Well, thank you, Francis. It's been great catching up with you again.
You're more than welcome, Ted. I really appreciate the time.
We'll talk to you soon.